Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. And like every Thursday for the last 3 years, 2 years anyway, I've been joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. And this Thursday is no different. Doug, happy holidays. I didn't get to talk to you on Monday, so we had to cancel the show. You had a little bit of a medical emergency. I'm glad that you're okay. And happy holidays to you and the family, my friend.
Yes, and same to you, and Happy New Year to you, Ross, and to everybody, okay, that's watching the video. And make sure to, I'm going to beat Ross to the punch on this one. Make sure to subscribe on this one. I'm fired up today, Ross. I got to admit, I'm
Yeah.
fired up, okay?
Well, we were
But no,
talking.
I mean, hey, I'm just a lot of things going on. So,
Yeah.
a lot of excitement and here. So, yeah, so Monday, that's over and done with. But hey, we're here Thursday. We got a great NFL weekend ahead. We got, the best bowls are coming. So
Yes.
that's never a bad thing. And
Yeah.
then as of yesterday, we really swing into everything that goes on in college basketball,
Yeah.
because now we get into the conference play more, and that kind of
Yes.
started up yesterday. We got a big card today, and then we'll have it all weekend long, plus all the bowl games and everything else. So, it's as Andy Williams said, it's a wonderful time of the year.
It certainly is. We got everything going on at once here, and you're right, Doug. We could finally crack down and really focus on college basketball next week. Not that we don't,
Right.
but when the bowl season and the NFL are going on at the same time, last 2 weeks of the regular season, it's a bottom line is, folks, we make way more money in football than any other sport. So, of course, like in any business, your focal point's going to be where the money is at that particular moment in time. That does not mean we don't want to win in other sports. Does not mean we don't go at it just as hard. But sometimes, especially when you work on your own, like me and Doug do, time management is a key. So you really have to, at times, just there's not enough time in a day kind of thing, So I don't know if you've ever, well, I shouldn't ask you. Yeah, I know that you've ran out of time in a day on occasion. So anyway, looking forward to it. But, we're going to be talking NFL today. Doug's going to be covering the Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers game. All of a sudden, the Packers with a flicker of hope in their playoff hopes. And also, I'll be covering the New York Jets and Seattle Seahawks game. The loser of that game will be officially eliminated from playoff contention. Right now, both teams need to win, and then they're going to need a little help. So before we get to that, though, we didn't get a chance to discuss anything in college football on Monday because we had to cancel. So, Doug, you had a couple of things you had on the agenda to discuss, and go right ahead.
Yeah, and so the information is right up to date. In fact, this information is more accurate than a George Santos resume, as a matter of fact. So so to have that. So no, so one of the things I do every year is that I'd like to look for bowl trends as current as they're happening, and see if there's something that can be learned, something you can take advantage of, from that standpoint. And the number one things, so far this year, far and away, has been the totals. And as we speak, I know we got a bowl game that's, excuse me, kicking off here as we are talking. The under right now is 17-8. Okay, so far this bowl season, and that is, to me, I didn't have a chance to go back and look for, but that's very unusual for early bowl games.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, usually we get a lot of points, get a lot of scoring, and so one of the things and I'll throw these at you and see if you agree or disagree or want to add something too, as to why. Well, the number one thing, of course, as to why is the transfer portal. Okay, players opting out. In a lot of cases, it's skill position players that are opting out, okay, either to go other places or they want to get ready for the NFL draft. So that has a big impact. The other thing that I've noticed this year, so that's one. Number two is that the number of fumbles or turnovers that have occurred when a team is inside the opponent's 35-yard line. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, now they're happening all over the place, but for whatever reason, to me, it seems at least there's predominantly more this year than other bowl seasons. So you don't get the quick scores typically then out of that when that happens because they're going into score. The other team gets the ball back. Now they have to drive, a pretty fair amount of distance to be able to score again. So I think that's another factor. And then the other thing that I've noticed is that defenses are blitzing seemingly more than ever to pressure the quarterbacks. And so with that, especially when teams are getting in the red zone, they're not scoring with the proficiency that we're used to seeing, and we're getting a lot more field goals out of that. So I think those are the reasons as to why we're seeing lower scores to this point. Okay, now that could change when we get into the better teams pretty much going here forward. But I think it's still going to be, I don't know it's going to be 2-1 like what I'm talking about here, but I think it's going to be close, close to that. What do you think, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, all good points, all observations that I agree with. I mean, I know the Kansas game went over last night,
Right.
but
Well,
a perfect example of that was last night's game. I mean, Kansas twice had the ball inside the 30 and threw interceptions inside the 30 of Arkansas. And same thing with KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. He threw an interception in the red zone as well. So, and then we also saw Arkansas, they were inside the 30, I believe, near the end of the game, up 15 with very little time left, and they fumbled. So, yeah, I mean, again, coincidentally, the game goes over, but that's the kind of things that we've been seeing during this bowl season. Now, maybe you could attribute that to teams being off for 3 or 4 weeks and being rusty. Other parts of that equation might be we're seeing more backups taking on more prominent roles in these games because of the transfer portal. So, 17-8, 68% of the games. And again, folks, that's just an observation on our part. By no means are we encouraging you just to bet the overs going forward on the blind. There's reasons why this is occurring. There's also been some pretty high totals as well.
Yes,
in some of these games. And I don't know. It seems to me that the books have adjusted more on the point spread than they have on the totals in terms of player availability compared to what that team might have had during the regular season. So, yeah, very good points, Doug. But again, we're talking NFL today, and college football, by the way, folks, 7-1-1 this bowl season with my college football bowl selections, 3-0 last night, and 8-2 run in all sports over the last 3 days at rbwins.com. Doug, tell the folks a little bit about what they could look forward to in the coming days and any hot streaks you might be on right now.
Yes. So best bets, I did not come through. You must have had Texas Tech then yesterday, right?
I did. Yes.
You did? Okay. Well, I was on the opposite side, and hey, the Mississippi, they decided not to come to play, and they were dressed up as Santa Claus because they were just handing out gifts and everything the entire game. So, but you know what? A 7-1-1, I'm not going to complain about that. That's up over almost $4,000 of the profit on best bets. So we just move ahead and going to have some today. I was going to have, I will say, I was going to have my game of the year, okay, on Friday, but a line moved so much that I'm off of that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm lowering it from that standpoint. But so I have that. Hockey continues to go well, 29-19 across the board. I'm not doing as well as Ross is the bowl season. I'm on the other side of the not the complete opposite side, but I'm losing. I'm down. I think it's 2 games so far against over 500, but we still have the rest of to go.
Oh,
I think I
yeah.
got like 6 games. I think I figured out that I still have. So have that. So yeah. So there's some good things going on there. And then, like I said, with college, I'm actually looking forward, as was something you said, Ross, to college basketball to really get into the meat and potatoes on a daily basis. To really go down the whole schedule and then get into that rhythm of what goes on Monday through Sunday, so that you really can take advantage of that. And I think there's a lot there. And in the NBA. Okay, just been so. But the last 2 years, hot streaks started both times in January. I'm looking to make it another one going into this January in 2023.
And my money's on you, my friend. So again, you could find Doug at docsports.com. Not only Doug, but some other great handicappers as well. Docs has been around for 51 years now. And like I've said on numerous occasions, and we'll probably say on numerous occasions going forward, longevity speaks volumes in this business. Me and Doug been around for about 20 years doing it full time. So obviously, if you're successful, you last. And if you're not, you find some other type of work to do, so, and people think, I can't tell you how many people will say, that's all you do for a living. And it's like, please, should I be digging ditches? Would that make you happier and say I have a work ethic? Come on, give me a break. Anyway, NFL, Minnesota and Green Bay. These are the games that Doug used to sit with his father. No, that was Minnesota, Chicago, right? Or Green Bay, Chicago.
No, Green Bay. No, and I used to sit with my dad with Packers and the Bears, and we would argue like crazy all the time.
I remember you telling me
but I have attended until moving here. I had my season tickets, which I still do with the Packers, and so I attended them regularly. And but having gotten into this side of the business and better for a long time, you know what? I put all that aside in order to have winners for people, not just what my personal feelings are about certain
You
days.
still have season tickets, huh?
I do. Yes.
Wow.
I had them when they used to play at County Stadium.
Yeah.
So we got, there was a smaller amount of tickets. Now you get one exhibition and games 2 and 5 of the home schedule.
Right.
And so, so I still have them. I've only been back once. But if everything goes well, I'm going to go to the preseason game this August. And I haven't seen the new stadium configuration. So that's what I want to see. And their Hall of Fame is just amazing from everybody I've ever talked to. So looking forward to doing that. But hey, let's talk about this one. All right.
Yep.
Minnesota, the Green Bay Packers. Now, after all these years, right? Would any of us, or should any of us doubt when Aaron Rodgers says that they're going to go on a roll late in the season? Okay, no, we shouldn't. Quite honestly, he says they're going to win. They do. Don't question him, and his teammates then in turn believe him, and they accomplish something every year. Excuse me. Now Minnesota has been heavily scrutinized especially of late, because they have 12 wins. Okay, but their point differential is only +5. So I do give them credit though, and no matter how you want to look at this, everybody can criticize them. They've won. Okay, and the idea in the NFL is to win. Now, if you're looking for style points, this is not your team. Okay, that's for sure. And in every late game situation, they come through. Okay, whether it be offense or defense, whatever it takes. Now, in this one though, I'm looking at that Minnesota defense. Pass defense in particular, ranked 32nd. Now, Aaron Rodgers has not had a 300 game yet this season. And in fact, I believe it goes back to like 5 or 6 more from last season. So he hasn't had a 300 game in a long time. If there was ever a game he was going to bust out, Ross, it's this one. Okay, he's at home. The situation sets up. Yes, he has inexperienced receivers, but they are getting better. Okay,
absolutely.
So there's some good things there. And Minnesota gives up 281 yards per game passing. The Packers have everything to gain. Okay, in this one, they're at home. The Vikings are unlikely to catch Philadelphia because they'd have to win twice and Philly would have to lose twice. That doesn't seem likely. And Philadelphia, but Minnesota, though, still would like to hang on to the number 2 seed, in the conference, ideally. In this one, I'm sorry. I left my phone on by mistake. In this one, Green Bay's up to 3.5. That's a tough number to me. So here's what I'm going to make a recommendation. I like Green Bay in this situation, and I think most people do because they think the Packers are rolling. They're at home. They have the momentum. They have revenge. Minnesota doesn't have quite as much to play for. They have something to play for, but not quite as much. So I'm going to take the Packers, but here's what I'm going to suggest to look at the lines, and I would wait some. Right now, line's at 3.5. If it stays at 3.5 and you happen to like the Packers like I do, I would suggest the money line. Is it higher? Yes, it's -180 as we speak. So that is definitely higher. So I'd make a smaller bet if you like the Packers as opposed to with a point spread. But just before I came on to do this video with Ross, I saw that they are being bet down now to -3, but you have to pay more juice. I'm seeing -120 or so on that one. So here's what I would do. If your book or whoever you're using, if it's 3.5, okay, by game time, I would do the money line smaller bet. If it's 3, I would take 3, pay the little extra juice on the 3, and take the Packers. But in either situation, I think the Packers are in the better spot with more motivation to win, and they go out and get the job done on this one.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, look at you made a good point. He struggled this year, meaning Aaron Rodgers, in terms of what we're used to, not up to his standard, but it's not all on him. The bottom line is he had some really inexperienced receivers and still does. The Packers management, in my estimation, dropped the ball. They let Davante Adams get away, and they arrogantly, in my opinion as well, said, well, Aaron Rodgers can make anybody look good at the wide receiver position. Well, when you lose a guy the caliber of a Davante Adams, sorry, folks, it's going to hurt you somewhere down the line, and especially early on. And that's what happened. But these guys are getting better. You know what I mean? This Watson and Dobbs, they're looking much improved since the beginning of the year and getting better every week. And of course, it's lined up with Green Bay going on a late surge here. And also the Minnesota thing, yes, they certainly don't want to lose the game. And yes, they don't want to blow the number 2 seeding in the NFC. However, urgency and desperation are the key words here. And I think Doug touched upon that without using those words specifically, that Green Bay will be the more desperate and urgent team. They need to win just to stay alive. They're going to need some help over the last 2 weeks if they win out to even make it. But you know what? If they don't win this game, they're done anyway. So Doug likes Green Bay. He's suggesting if it's -3.5, make a small bet on the money line on Green Bay. If it comes down to 3 and you're paying the extra juice of -120, that's the way to go. So smart money management from Doug Upstone. And again, folks, I can't emphasize enough. We can't emphasize enough the key numbers in the NFL: 3, 6, 7, and 10. When we say key numbers, when you go through the data, you'll find that games land on those numbers more frequently than others. And that's where we get the key number aspect from. All right, so I'm going to take a look at the New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks. Boy, oh boy, Doug, 2 teams that 4 or 5 weeks ago looked like an absolute lock to, at the very least, make the AFC portion of the playoffs via the wild card route. Now they're both on the outside looking in. Why? Well, the Jets are 0-4 straight up in ATS in their last 4. Seattle's 0-3 straight up in an ATS in their last 3. As a matter of fact, Seattle 1-5 straight up in ATS in their last 6, including 0-3 straight up in ATS at home. Now the Jets, who started 4-1 on the road, now they're 0-3 in their last 3 road games. So, boy, oh boy, trying to figure this one out. A little bit of a topsy-turvy situation here. But at the end of the day, this is an elimination game. Whoever loses this game is mathematically eliminated. Whoever wins this game, similar to Green Bay, needs to win out, and it has to start with this week. And then they're going to need some help in week 18 in order to make the playoffs. Now, where am I going with this? Well, the Jets are a road favorite here. Why? They opened as a dog, but the news came out earlier this week that Mike White, the quarterback for the Jets, was cleared to play. Thank goodness for all Jets fans, right? Because the kid at the number 1 draft choice, Zach Wilson, he's really, really struggled. Is it Zach Wilson? That's his first name,
Yes,
Doug?
correct.
Yes. All right. And also the fact that, the Jets, to me, are the better team in this matchup. I know that Seattle has better players at the skill positions. Why do I say the Jets are better? Because I like the Jets running game better. And I also like the Jets defense much better than I do Seattle's defense. The Jets also will be have 2 more days of rest because they played a Thursday night game in which they lost 19-3 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. What a horror show that was offensively for them. And again, I think Wilson coming into the lineup, maybe not necessarily he doesn't have to pass for 300 yards and 6 touchdowns, but just the emotional boost he'll give that Jets offense, because it's quite clear that when he's under center, that's when the Jets are more confident offensively than not. So also the Jets over the last 4 games, Doug, they've turned the ball over. Actually, they're -1 turnover differential in each of the last 4 games. And also they only forced 1 turnover over the last 4. You can't win that way. However, NFL betting history will show us that teams in that similar situation, or actually the exact situation, have done awfully well. NFL teams who forced 1 or less turnovers over their last 4 games, like the Jets, who only forced 1 turnover total in the last 4, and they have a -1 or worse turnover differential in their last 3. Actually, they're -1 or worse in their last 4. Those teams in that situation have gone 23-7 straight up since 2013. That's a 76.7% win percentage. That's pretty darn good. Why am I bringing up the straight up number? Well, the Jets are just -1.5. And guess what I'm going to do? They're only -125 on the money line. I'm going to go with the Jets here, -125 over the Seattle Seahawks. I just think the Jets defense will be the difference in this game. And I also think the addition of Mike White inserted back into the lineup will serve them well. So I'm going with the Jets here. -125 over the Seattle Seahawks. And Doug Upstone, he likes the Green Bay Packers, either -180 on the money line, or if they drop the 3 at your sports book, take them at 3, even though they may be -120. Okay, so that's what he suggests. And Doug, any final thoughts?
Yeah, that Jets, that's an interesting game, for sure in that one. And the points that you made, I all agree with on that one. It was interesting that, that from the odds makers perspective or sportsbooks perspective, they believe that White is a better quarterback. You saw that when Wilson came back, and you see it. And when Wilson came in, they went down on the point spread. Now that he's leaving, it goes back up with White. So that's really something. And these Western Kentucky quarterbacks are pretty interesting, to follow, because they know how to throw the ball. I mean, because that's the offense they play in for typically, 2-3 years. And all these guys, they wing it around. They get rid of the ball quickly. They make quick decisions, and and it gets a rhythm to the offense. So yeah, and the whole thing with Smith now with Seattle, see, the shine's off the apple on him, and he's just kind of gone back to who he is. Not quite as bad as what he was when he was with the Jets, but just overall, if Seattle can't win at home now, why would you think they can now? Before, I should say, why would you think they can now? Good spot for the Jets to pick up a win, and they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams need it, but it's the lesser of 2 evils, right, Doug? And
Yes,
I
right.
think the Jets are what you want to go with here. That's my opinion. And also the Packers, which I totally agree. Just by the sake of urgency and desperation between these teams. And also think about this, folks. The Minnesota Vikings, 11-3, Doug, I believe.
12.
12-3.
12
yes.
and 3.
Yeah. Playing a team that's 7-8. And the 7-8 team is actually in some spots better than a field goal favorite. And there's no major injuries to report. That's just what the sports boy, that's an honest line. So that in itself speaks volumes to me as well. Anyway, Doug, always a pleasure, my man. You could find Mr. Upstone over at DocSports.com. Don't forget, folks, RBWins.com is where you could find me. College football bowl picks, 7-1-1 so far. I have a big winner tonight in the Oklahoma and Florida State game. You can get that right now by going to my website. If you don't see the video in time to get that game, I will have several picks in the college football bowl season on Friday, Saturday, and Monday. So, Doug, until the next time, buddy, knock 'em dead. And folks,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to each and every one of you. That's right. Well, next time I'll talk to you, I should say I'll talk to you next year. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah. So until the next time, folks, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.